welcome to the podcast that must not be named. I'm Melissa.
I am Luke.
And today we are talking about Chapter 12, The Mirror of Erised. This chapter was 21 pages long and was 6.8% of the book. Luke, take away for your executive summary.
Just before Christmas, the weather has turned even colder and the lake has frozen solid. Malfoy makes some stupid jokes, which no one thinks are funny, about kids staying at Hogwarts over the holidays since Harry and the Weasleys will not be going home. The Great Hall has been decorated by Hagrid, Professor McGonagall, and Professor Flitwick, and it looks magical, to say the least. Hermione prods the boys to go to the library to continue their search for Nick Flamel, all to no avail. Hermione leaves to spend the holidays with her dentist parents. Ron and Harry forget to continue their search for Flamel and spend their time instead playing wizard chess. Harry wakes up Christmas morning and is amazed by the presents that were waiting for him. Presents from Hagrid, Mrs. Weasley, Hermione, and even the Dursleys are accompanied by a gift from an anonymous sender. This turns out to be an invisibility cloak that once belonged to his father. The Weasleys and Harry make it down to Christmas festivities, where the staff and students are all having a great time eating, playing games, having snowball fights, and playing more wizard chess, which Ron is quite good at. As everyone is winding down and going to bed from the day's excitement, Harry can't help but pull the invisibility cloak out and take a stroll through the castle. He decides to visit the library's restricted section to search for Flamel, where he opens a book that shrieks loud enough to alert Filch. Harry runs for it, while being chased by both Filch and Snape. He ends up in an empty classroom, empty except for a large, ornate mirror. Harry is amazed to see himself in the mirror, flanked by what he can only tell are his deceased family members looking alive and well. He spends several hours staring at the family he never had. The next night, Harry takes Ron with him underneath the invisibility cloak to the classroom where Ron sees only himself in the mirror looking older and covered in badges and trophies. The boys are chased from the room by Mrs. Norris. Harry returns the following night and is quickly greeted by none other than Dumbledore, who knew Harry had been visiting the Mirror of Erised because, as he says, "I don't need a cloak to become invisible." Dumbledore explains that the mirror shows the viewer's deepest desire. He says that the mirror will be moved to a new location and asks that Harry not go looking for it again.
So we meet a couple of new characters in this particular chapter. The one that we meet for real is Madame Pince, the librarian. And we also get some interesting new names for our favorite troublemakers, the Weasley twins. They are Gred and Forge, which is funny. And we also have a mention of Ron's grandfather.
Yep, it was his wizard chess set that Ron was using. The new locations that we encounter in this chapter are the library and the restricted section.
Some of our magicabulary were Powdered Spine of Lionfish, several books, such as Great Wizards of the 20th Century, Notable Magical Names of Our Time, Important Modern Magical Discoveries, and a study of recent developments in wizardry. We also were introduced to Wizard's Chess, which is like Muggle chess, but with talking and walking pieces, the official Weasley sweater, and the invisibility cloak. And now into our in-depth analysis of the chapter.
So my first note is, this chapter, again, just like last chapter, starts off with some incredible cold weather happiness. The lake is frozen solid. Cold. And there's several feet of snow.
Cold.
I love it.
Cold.
I love it. I want to be there.
Miserable.
I want to have these snowball fights with actual socks. Deep snow.
I hate socks. I hate sweaters. I hate big puffy coats. I do like fires. Cold.
Yeah.
Miserable.
I like having bonfires out in snow. It's a good time.
Cold.
It's awesome.
Cold.
So my next point is libraries are fun. In general, it would be very fun to spend some time in this school's library, I bet.
Without Madam Pince.
Yeah. Even regardless of not being able to get into the restricted section, I bet there's a lot of really cool books in there.
Oh, I'm sure.
You know, the whole world of magic in books like that'd be pretty easy to kill some time in there.
Your Hermione's coming out.
I know. I like books. Clearly,
I like books
We're
too.
doing a podcast about books.
Yes, but I usually like fiction books better than nonfiction, and I'm betting that library doesn't have a lot of wizard fiction. I mean, it might. I'd be curious. What is the wizard fiction?
I bet it does.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's just not Harry's forte.
It might not be.
But I do like how-to books. I like to learn how to do things.
I've gotten into biographies lately, so that would be interesting.
I bet there's a lot of biographies.
Right.
That'd be interesting. I mean, a lot of the books that were mentioned here seem like they're almost biographical. They're talking about, you know, historical type things. So,
I mean, there's no biography on Nicholas Flamel.
Right.
We're having a hard time finding that one. But...
Right. So I thought, if you had an invisibility cloak, where would you go first in Hogwarts?
I have to be in Hogwarts?
Yes. And we'll do it outside of Hogwarts as well.
If I had an invisibility cloak in Hogwarts and I was
for the locations
student,
that we've seen,
you know, I don't know. That's a really good question. It would kind of depend on my purpose, like maybe,
or if you were hungry.
I was just gonna say sneaking down to the kitchens.
Right.
That would be pretty awesome. I'm wondering if you could use it to sneak out of Hogwarts, like to leave, to go out, like, you know, thinking about when
sneak
you're
off the grounds, even
right, or even like, you know, you think about we're talking about a book that has a school for kids who are 11 to 18. Those 16, 17, 18-year-old kids trying to sneak out and have a date. Hey, sneak under here. We're going to go sneak out and hide behind whatever. And this will get us to sneak out away from prying eyes of teachers who were not. So I think I would have used it for something like that if I were a kid, you know, to sneak off with my friends when I'm not supposed to be or when I'm supposed to be in bed. I do stuff like that. Not necessarily to go visit somewhere in particular, but to use it to get away from or to hang out when I'm not allowed.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not saying I have a good answer for it. I just thought it was interesting. Like, if you have free roam, you know.
Right. Now, if I had an invisibility cloak right now, I would just put it on in my house.
Just to hide? Just
to hide. So everybody would just leave me alone.
Yeah.
I mean, I love my family. I do. But sometimes you just need, like, a minute away. And an invisibility cloak would be very useful. It'd be really fun for hide and seek.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, no, that's definitely interesting. So do you think Mrs. Norris could see them through the invisibility cloak? Harry and Ron?
Did they get it on in time before she came?
Yes. Yep, they got it on, and then I'll go ahead and just read it just to make sure. A sudden noise outside in the corridor put an end to their discussion. They hadn't realized how loudly they'd been talking. Quick! Ron threw the cloak back over them as the luminous eyes of Mrs. Norris came around the door. Ron and Harry stood quite still, both thinking the same thing. Did the cloak work on cats? After what seemed an age, she turned and left. So, I don't know, the fact that they both thought it, and it seemed like she was staring directly at them?
Well, but she's also an animal with a keen sense of smell. Maybe she just smells person.
Or good hearing, too.
Also
heard them scuffling.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, it was just...
I think she's using her other senses. I don't necessarily think she can see them with her eyes, but I think she can sense them.
Okay, that's fair.
Okay.
So, Dumbledore's awesome.
And omniscient.
Yeah. So, his quote of, "I don't need a cloak to become invisible," is pretty awesome. Like, it's just...
I know.
It's like, you know what? One, I know you have an invisibility cloak, which is, we'll get back to that. But two, I'm way more powerful than you could even imagine. Like...
Right. I want that kind of power.
Yeah.
And he wears it so well. He doesn't wear it as like a gloating thing. It's just a fact. I have this power.
Yeah. Yeah. No, he's very matter of fact about,
yes,
I'm quite good at magic.
Yes.
But also, he knows about the cloak. Does he know it because he's just seen Harry using it, or is there more to that?
Well, we don't know who gave it to him.
Mm-hmm.
And it sure seemed like he knew about it. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I would assume he knows of it, whether he's the giver or just being, again, all knowing and all powerful, great Wizard of Oz or something, and knows everything.
Yeah.
He knew that it was delivered to his room. He knew. I don't know.
Yeah. All right. What notes do you have for this chapter?
All right. So, well, I disagree that snow and cold is fun. I would really like to go to Hogwarts at Christmas time because I bet it's really pretty.
It sounds fun, doesn't it?
Yes.
And I'm sure it looks amazing.
And the idea of being able to be there without having the monotony of school, like just having that be your kind of home, I think that would be cool.
Yeah, and I don't know. Like I know, like going to school back in the day, it was always kind of fun to like be at school, like outside of school time, like just even for like a nighttime something. Like it was fun, like just kind of being able to walk around the school and be like to take something
it's still like that now, by the way.
Is it?
Yes, even as a teacher, like when you go up for an activity or if you're working late in your classroom, like it's nice. You're like, oh, it's so quiet and so different. It is much nicer.
Yeah, no, and I can see that, like they're just taking some place that you're very familiar with and just changing the primary use of it is interesting.
Right. Ron and Harry voluntarily spend time in a library working on a project that is not for school. Hermione is so rubbing off on them.
That, or she's pushy in a more effective way.
Right. She's using her power for good. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that would never have happened pre-friends with Hermione. Not ever.
Right. Yeah.
Another one of my thoughts is we don't always notice that Harry and Ron are little kids because they're our main characters and they're the people we spend the most time with. And they get to do things like be on the Quidditch team and go have tea at Hagrid's. Mm-hmm. So it's very hard to sometimes remember that there are lots of other kids and most of them are older, like that they're the little kids in the room. But the comment that Harry and Ron can't have the good armchairs until the common room is almost empty for the holidays. Mm-hmm. It's just a nice reminder that, yeah, they are still just the little kids.
Right.
They're not that important.
A lot of different age group kids. It's...
Yes, that they don't get those big comfy armchairs.
Right. It's a nice environment building.
Yes. Well, and it proves kind of that,
JK.
like, Harry doesn't always get favoritism just for being Harry. Sometimes he's just treated like
and he really doesn't get it from the other students.
Right.
Like at all.
Right.
We've never really seen that.
No. Chess figures that they're alive. How are they alive? Are they transfigured? Are they charmed? Are they cursed? What gets them to be the way they are?
I would say they're charmed because they don't change shape or anything.
Right.
It's interesting, though.
And a curse has a negative connotation, so you assume it's not cursed. Could it be hexed? Could it be...
kind of like what we were saying. Charms seem to cover a lot of the making things do things without direct involvement from the person.
Animating objects.
Okay. Having things fly across the room, giving things capabilities outside of their normal uses.
All right.
So it seems like they're charmed, is what I would think.
The 50 pence piece that Harry receives from his aunt and uncle is worth £0.50, so it's monetarily not equivalent, but in American money we can think of it as like 50 cents. We gave him 50 cents. Mm-hmm. And in case you're wondering, it is a 7-sided rounded heptagon-shaped coin.
Yeah, that is a interesting shape.
Mm-hmm.
And Ron even says that. He goes, wow, what a weird shape.
Right. Hagrid's giving a gift to Harry again. Does he give gifts to other students? This is his second gift in 6 months because he gave him a birthday. He bought him an owl for a birthday present, and now he gave him a gift at Christmas.
Third if you count the birthday cake, kind of.
Third if you count the cake. Okay. Does he give gifts to other kids? What is it about Harry that Hagrid is so, like... what is it about Harry that Hagrid is so attached to? Does he get attached to other kids, or is it simply the connection with the parents and that he was there that night and... Mm-hmm. I don't know. It seems a little odd.
Well, I don't think he's ever had a connection to a student the way he has with Harry, and the fact that he was the one that dropped him off at, and it seemed like Hagrid probably knew Harry's parents. So,
Right.
I don't know. I don't think it's unreasonable. He's not really a teacher, so it doesn't show favoritism, really.
And he doesn't get to connect with the kids a lot because it's not like he has direct contact with them most of the time.
Right.
Okay.
So he's taking advantage of that. And, I mean, he might not get along with all of the teachers, so it's nice for him to have a friend. It's good
True.
for Hagrid to have somebody to talk to.
Okay. So the infamous Weasley sweaters. What mother of a redhead forces their redheaded son into maroon? Did she really run out of colors by Kid 6?
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of colors.
There are a lot of colors. And Gred and Forge wear the same one. They both have blue.
Right. So you're
that's
saving a color.
Saving
there.
a color. So you've got those two in blue.
So
Let's say
six,
Percy's...
6 colors.
Okay, so let's say Percy's green. Let's put... I don't know. Bill could be yellow and Charlie could be...
Red.
Or orange or brown or purple or black or white. Mm-hmm. Like, those are all options. You assume Ginny's probably pink or purple.
Lilac. Yeah,
Something. Some girly color. But maroon, like, you couldn't give him brown. You couldn't give him, I don't know. I feel like there are more options in the world than to stick poor Ron with maroon.
I think that kind of feeds into Ron kind of pulling the short straw on a lot of things. And he takes it that way. And I think we're seeing a little bit of, sometimes it is that way. Like,
right, like
that's a terrible color for that
like
hair
the
color.
Sandwiches. He doesn't like that kind of sandwich, and
But
she always forgets. He gets the maroon thing. He has a hand-me-down wand, hand-me-down robes, and a hand-me-down rat. Now, I get the hand-me-down robes. Fine. I get maybe you couldn't afford a wand. And that's part of it, too. But you don't even remember what kind of sandwiches he likes? Mm-hmm. You can't... If you're going to buy the yarn for a... You know, did she buy maroon yarn once upon a time? Is trying to use it all up, and it's just... That's what he gets stuck with? I don't know.
And it says he always gets maroon?
Something like that. So why can't you just buy him a new color?
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah. Come on, Mrs. Weasley.
I know, right?
One strike.
Hermione gives them each a gift, though. Or at least she gives a gift to Harry. You assume she also gave a gift to Ron. He had already opened his. Did either of them think to get her a gift?
Did either of them think to give either one of the other ones a gift?
I think that's better, though. I think it's okay that they don't get it from each other because they're both clueless and don't know. But you know they didn't give her one.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Hermione.
Yeah, and maybe that's them learning next year. You know, Hermione opening that door.
Like, hey, we're giving gifts for Christmas. We're those people.
Right. Yeah.
You need to do this.
They're 11. Yeah. And when would they have gone and... Like, how did Hermione get the chocolate frog? Like, is there like a mail order, or did she get it when she left and then? Like,
I'm gonna go with mail order. Well, because she has Muggle parents, so she wouldn't be ordering. Like, she couldn't go get chocolate frogs at the store.
Maybe on the train back or something,
and then
mail them back.
Okay, all right, I'll give you that. How does Ron know what an invisibility cloak is?
Yeah, he seems pretty familiar. Maybe there are some of that wizarding fiction. You know, that we were talking about? Maybe those books cover those kinds of things.
They might. Yeah, I don't know.
And they do.
I just found it odd that he knew what an invisibility cloak was, when obviously they don't seem very...
They're pretty rare.
Yes. Yes, they seem like a rare occurrence. Mm-hmm. So how do you know what they are?
Right.
To be able to have an authority enough to identify it.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. But maybe it's kind of like seeing a unicorn. They're pretty rare, but... If you see it, you know what it is.
You know it's a unicorn. Okay.
Right.
How does a book get relegated to the restricted section? Like, what is the criteria for restricting access to a book?
Yeah, I would think it's got to do something with maybe safety of the information in the book, or like that book that shrieks. I mean, that's something that you need to be responsible on. As
opposed to just leaving it on a shelf for a random first year to pull off. Or like...
So it's really disruptive to have that one irresponsibly pulled off the shelf. Yes. I mean, it seemed like there were some other books in there that... I mean, I'm sure there are other books that probably contain dangerous incantations and spells and things like that you need to be an older student, know a lot more about magic as a whole before you're allowed to look at them. Right.
I am disappointed in myself that I didn't, and I don't know if this is one. We can cut this out. Tell me what you think. I am disappointed in myself that I didn't discover the secret of the message of the mirror until I had to look it up online.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember
Not knowing.
not knowing it. I don't know. I can't remember if I
I know I
got
had
it
to
the
look it up
first.
because
I don't think I ever looked it up. I think maybe it's like on
yeah.
a later reread.
Well, I never knew you could read the words backwards in it till it was a sentence. I didn't
Right.
know that. I remember reading it online going, what? And then I had to go back to my book to read it to figure it out.
And I don't think I'm wrong on this, but I think I noticed that Erised, or as I said earlier, Erised is what I would say when I read it earlier. That's like a really weird word, and
It is.
I think that was the key. I think I realized that was desire backwards,
I didn't.
and then
Good for you.
translated that. And I can't guarantee that, but I don't think
Right.
I'm making that up.
Or if you're making it up, you're making it up honestly.
Yeah, that's fine.
So Harry seeing his family, that is so amazing and painful and wonderful and exciting and desperate all at the same time. Like your heart, it's not a very long passage, but your heart just wrenches for this poor little boy who has never even seen them because they don't have pictures and he can't ask questions, and not only is he seeing his parents, he's seeing his grandparents, his great like a whole family that he never knew. Like that is just heartbreaking
Yeah,
for that kid.
yeah. And he wastes away hours. You know, he's sitting there for
We
a couple
think.
hours. I
Yeah.
think it says so.
It doesn't. It says it doesn't know how much time. He doesn't know how much time has passed.
Gotcha. Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
it could be hours. It could be minutes. It could just be. It could be felt longer than it really was. It's just one of those moments that time stops.
Yeah, and I mean, it comes down to the point where Harry says to himself, pretty much, Harry thinks Harry had seen his parents, and I think this is about the first time that he realizes how much he's missed out. Like
Yes.
he knows that he's been abused in his head. At least he thinks he feels abused or neglected growing up.
Right. Or he's missing.
Right. It's hard to really know what you're missing until you actually have a visual image
Yes.
of what that would have looked
Yes.
like. And I think this really drives that home for him, that he didn't realize what he was missing.
Well, and that really goes into what he does for the next few days. He doesn't eat. He doesn't sleep. He doesn't play Quidditch. He doesn't go outside. And Ron gets very, very worried. Like, you need to do something. He's like, no, I don't want to. No, I don't want to. He's just stuck.
Yeah.
It's a little scary. I only have two more quick thoughts. One is we saw a tall ghost witch gliding by. I think that's interesting that there's a mention of a witch, but we're not told who she is. All of the other ghosts we've met have had names like the Bloody Baron and Nearly Headless Nick, but this is just a random tall witch.
Yeah.
Any ideas on what she's doing there?
Well, I know
Just-
in that first time at the little entrance to the entrance hall room
Before the sorting.
before the sorting, it said a group of about 20 ghosts float through. So I don't know. We only got names for 2 of them at that time. 3 of them maybe.
3, I think. So she's
'Cause we had
just another
the
random.
Friar and the Bloody Baron and Nicholas at the feast. But
So you think she's just another
I
random
think she's
ghost?
just another random ghost.
Okay. I just think it's odd that she would have gone through the trouble of naming some of them and then made the point of saying they saw this one rather than just assuming that they're around. Like she made a point of saying that she saw this one. Or,
Yeah.
sorry, that Ron and Harry saw this one.
What was the context?
So Ron and Harry were trying to find the room with the mirror and were having a hard time. And it says they passed the ghost of a tall witch gliding in the opposite direction but saw no one else. Just as Ron started moaning that his feet were dead with cold, Harry spotted the suit of armor. It's here, just yet here, yes. They pushed open the door. Harry dropped the cloak from around his shoulders and ran to the mirror. So it's as they were wandering looking for it. It just seems an odd placement of a ghost.
Yeah, no, I agree. And maybe it's just kind of have somebody be seen that's inconsequential, that if they would have seen Harry and Ron somehow, that it's not some other character in the book that would get him in trouble.
Okay. My last thought, Dumbledore makes a dumb teacher joke. And it's kind of hard to catch, but I'm sure you've heard of the dumb dad jokes, how dads always kind of make corny jokes, and that's exactly what Dumbledore did. And it's a corny teacher joke where Harry says, "Sir, Professor Dumbledore, can I ask you something?" And Dumbledore goes, "Obviously, you've just done so."
Mm-hmm.
As in, that was a question. And then he goes, "You may ask me one more thing, however."
Yeah.
That's such a corny teacher joke. Like, I love it because, corny teacher here. But I think it's funny that he can make that kind of joke. and do so eloquently that Harry doesn't even catch that it's a joke.
Mm-hmm. It's a little bit of a sarcasm.
Oh, incredibly.
Which you would think Harry would catch.
But I think Dumbledore is so...
He is such an authoritarian.
Yes.
Or just an authority behind him. That,
yes. It's hard to miss it.
Right.
Or it's hard to catch it, I mean.
Yeah, it's super dry.
Yeah. Oh, incredibly. All right. And now on to your 5 burning questions.
My first burning question: why is Percy so bad at chess? Is he just not good at chess, or is he bad at assisting Harry in chess?
I think he's bad at assisting.
Yeah.
I'd be curious to see how he did on his own.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think he's such a know-it-all that he probably thinks it should be played a certain way. I bet he'd probably lose too, because it would have to be his way, and then his attack would get countered, and he'd get mad that his plot didn't work. And But I also think he's a terrible coach.
Yeah, I think so. I think I bet he's just fine at playing chess. He's not good at trying to teach on the fly.
Right.
In this case.
Because it has to be his way, and they're not listening, as opposed to letting the kids make mistakes and using those as teaching points. Yes.
Yep. So my second question is, why is there no follow-up by the fat lady when Harry leaves the tower in his invisibility cloak? He just leaves, and she calls after him, and that's it.
Well, she's in a portrait. What's she gonna do?
There's no hey, there's a student out. The door
I
doesn't just
wonder
open.
if it's against her purpose. Is her purpose to watch over those kids?
Right.
Or is her purpose to keep those kids safe from anybody who doesn't belong there? Because if her purpose is to watch over those kids and make sure they're safe, as in keeping track of their whereabouts, then she failed her mission.
Right.
But if her point is to keep anyone who's not a Gryffindor out, that's
then
her
she's
job.
doing fine, yeah. And I think that's really what it comes down to. It was just interesting because she's not the nanny,
No.
She's just the keeper of the door.
Right.
So
Right, and that's her job. She keeps the door. She can't go running after him. She can't. If he leaves, oh well, he's not supposed to. He'll get in trouble. But that's not my job. Somebody else will get them.
But how does she know that it wasn't somebody in an invisibility cloak coming from the front? Oh, because she didn't answer the password. So never mind. Cut that. That was dumb. But okay, no, that's fair.
Yep.
Third question: Is there anything Ron could do that none of his brothers have done before?
Die.
No, none of them have done that.
None of them have died. In theory, he could get married and have kids first. It's not likely, considering he has 2 brothers who are already grown adults, but he could do that. In terms of things to do at Hogwarts that no one else has
I think
done,
that's what I was intending.
Let's see. He has the Weasley twins, who are class clowns and very popular. He has Bill and Percy, who have both been prefects, and Bill was a head boy. He has Charlie, who was a Quidditch player.
And
he could
won
be
the Quidditch Cup.
Yes, he could be expelled.
Yeah.
They haven't been expelled. He could have to repeat a year. Nobody's had to do that. So
a lot of these are negatives.
That's what I'm saying. I really don't know if there's anything positive he really could do.
Aside from doing all of them.
He would have to do all of them.
Like what he sees in the mirror. He would have to have all of them for his own...
or do well at something that isn't around yet.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's true. And maybe there's a wizard chess club that he could start. Right. Seems like he might be the best at that.
He might be the best at that. I don't know.
Does what you see in the mirror change over time?
Yes.
We kind of talk about things like this often. Can your house change? But people do change as they're growing up. So does your heart's deepest desire change over time as well?
Yes.
I think so.
Because what I wanted when I was 16 is different than what I wanted when I was 26, and it's different than what I want now. Mm-hmm. So I do think that.
Yeah, I think it would have to.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was interesting.
It's an interesting point.
Because how deep down does it get. You know, like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
because there are some things that are like you're never going to attain, but you'll always want. But sometimes you do attain those things, and then you've got it, so you can't really
If you've ever
continue to
seen
reach for it.
the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, which is, I like that movie series, they have a compass that doesn't point north. It points to the thing you want. And they have a lot of debate within it, especially if you watch it a couple times, that it's not about your deepest desire. It's about the thing you want in the moment. Like, what do you want?
Mm-hmm.
So that's more of a base level.
Because I think this is almost like the reverse.
Exactly.
Of that.
So the
So
compass,
I don't think it's going to change
like,
much.
if I'm hungry, it's going to point me to food.
Yeah.
If I'm thirsty, it's going to point me to water. If I want to, I don't know, kill my enemy, it's going to point me to my enemy. Whereas this is, like, what do I as a person envision for myself? What would make me happiest?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, for me, it might be paying off my house.
Right.
At the moment. But 20 years ago, it might have been, you know, being in a movie. Because that's what I wanted when I was 16. You know,
Right.
I wanted to be an actress. Well, that's definitely not happening, and I'm perfectly happy without it.
Yeah, we'll just be podcast stars instead.
There you go.
All right. My last burning question is, what color would your Weasley sweater be?
It'd probably be purple.
Purple? Yeah.
That's my official favorite color, but I don't like to wear purple clothing.
Purple's supposed to look good on everybody.
It does. I'm going to go very girly on you. Purple's a very, like, cool color.
Mm-hmm.
And my skin tone and coloring, I look better in warmer colors like oranges and browns. And I like, Mom will yell at me all the time. I wear bland color. She says, you wear too much, you know, neutral colors like browns and blacks and beiges and oranges. I'm like, but I like those colors. And those colors look good with my, you know, freckled skin and,
Yeah.
you know, that kind of thing. So but it would be purple because that's my official favorite color. It's just not a color I like to wear.
But apparently it doesn't matter what color you like. If it's
No.
I'm teasing, but
Well, like my son likes to assign people colors, and
purple's your color.
Purple's my color. Like the other day, he had M&Ms, and I said, "Can I have one?" He said, "Sure. What color do you want?" I'm like, "Oh, I'll take a green one." He goes, "But you like purple." Like, I get that, but there's no purple M&Ms, hun. So can I have a green one? He's like,
Can I have a red and a blue one then?
right. Like, here you go. I'll start teaching him mixing colors. But it was just so funny. It was like, no, your color is purple. Therefore, you only get purple.
Mm-hmm.
He only likes yellow. So he can only have yellow. Daddy can only have blue, which is weird because then his sister also likes blue. So that's a whole thing. They can't both like blue.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. So it just, you get assigned a color.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have control over what color he assigned me.
Right.
You just get a color. And I think that's what Mrs. Weasley's doing. The
Yeah.
kids have been assigned a color.
Yeah.
You get this.
Yep. Now Harry's color is now emerald green.
Because of his eyes.
Yep.
Poor Ron. Ron would look fine in green too.
Probably.
Poor Ron.
Yep.
Okay.
Mine would probably be green. Green's probably my favorite color.
I could see that.
I like earthy tones on as clothes as well. All right. Chapter superlatives.
All right.
What was your favorite line?
I have two. And I'm torn between them. I think the one that I'm going to pick as my runner-up, not my super favorite, but one I really liked, was when Harry was playing Wizard's chess and was talking about the pieces. And he said, he wasn't a very good player yet, and they being the pieces, kept shouting different bits of advice at him, which was confusing. Don't send me there. Can't you see his knight? Send him. We can afford to lose him. And I just thought that one was funny.
Yeah, it's cool because it kind of shows, like, the personality that happens in wizard chess. You know, like the pieces, if they don't trust you, they're going to be fighting against you. You know, like...
Well, they're going to save themselves.
It's a good way to learn actual, like, battle generalship.
Yes.
You know, like, you have to know...
Management of others.
Exactly.
Not even battle, just in general.
Right.
When you have to manage other people, you have to be able to work with all their personalities and all their conflicting wants and needs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So.
it's interesting how much more skilled you have to be good at wizard chess.
Oh, yeah. My actual favorite one, though, and this is just one of those deep thoughts that you see people putting up on their walls as thoughts, as quotes from Harry Potter, and it's, it does not do to dwell on dreams and forget to live. Remember that. And I think we talked about that some with does the mirror what you see in the mirror change over time. If you continue to just stick to one dream and then be upset that you don't have that, or just be focused on the not having of the dream, then you don't live and you don't move on in your life and you don't find the joy in what you have. And I think that's very important to do, is to find the joy in what you have and change your dreams to fit the reality you're living. Because it's okay to still have dreams, but it's not okay to be stuck on a past dream that doesn't fit with your current situation.
Yeah, I agree. Dream for the stars, but if that's clearly unachievable, be okay to change that to the moon.
Shoot for a different star.
Shoot for, yeah, I mean, I think that's
doesn't
totally
have to be
fine.
the same star the whole time.
Right. Yeah, that's very well said. Mm-hmm. My favorite line was, "Merry Christmas," said Ron sleepily as Harry scrambled out of bed and pulled on his bathrobe. "You too," said Harry. "Will you look at this? I've got some presents." "What did you expect? Turnips?" Which, thinking about Harry in his past presents, he probably was expecting something as turnips or less value.
Or not anything at all.
That's what I'm saying. Like turnips or less. Like,
right.
That's all he's gotten. But 50 cents.
That speaks so much to their different upbringings. Like, Harry is so excited to have anything. Mm-hmm. And Harry's like, well, of course you have stuff because that's what you do. Like, you get presents. Kids who grow up with nothing are so thankful for even a little bit. And the kids who grow up with stuff, like, it's just expected. I get stuff. Even if it's not the super expensive stuff, because, Ron wasn't raised with much money, but he was raised with, you get presents on Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah,
it's just different worldviews.
For my chapter MVP, I think it's going to be Dumbledore. He has some of the most usable quotes outside of the Harry Potter series at the end of this chapter, and he's very articulate in, be careful not to just stare at this thing forever and never actually try to achieve them, along with, just because you want it doesn't mean it's actually possible. Yes. So be careful with what you're striving for, I guess.
Well, and I also think, because I think Dumbledore really is probably the MVP. I would agree with your pick. This is Harry's first one-on-one interaction with him.
Yeah.
This is the first time Harry ever sees him, and Dumbledore doesn't get Harry in trouble for being out at night.
Right.
He doesn't yell at him for sneaking around. He doesn't, he really uses it as a good teachable moment. It's like he really understands that kids are going to be kids and this is what you do, so let me teach from this moment, as opposed to just getting mad at you and having you learn with a consequence.
And he really understands Harry's need in this.
Yes.
That, he makes a really good, he levels with him.
Right.
And that's pretty good.
Yeah, I thought it was a very good first one-on-one interaction.
Yeah.
Because up until this point, as far as we know, Harry hasn't been in the same room with Dumbledore other than the big giant feasts or anything, because Dumbledore doesn't teach any of the classes.
Aside from maybe astronomy.
It's possible, because we don't know. All right, new theory, Dumbledore's teaching astronomy. My honorable mention goes to Ron, for just being a really good friend in this chapter, for enjoying Christmas and getting Harry to really see what Christmas could be, for going with him to the mirror and then really trying to pull his friend out of the slump that Harry hits when he's not staring into the mirror for those few days, and for really worrying. You can see the worry. He doesn't always know what to do with the worry, because 11-year-old boy, but he does really have genuine concern for the well-being of his friend, and that's nice to see.
He is a very successful friend here.
Yes.
He does a good job at helping Harry.
So that wraps up our conversation for Chapter 12. We will be coming at you again in a week when we discuss Chapter 13.
Nicholas Flamel.
In the meanwhile, we invite you to connect with us on Twitter at NotNamedPodcast. Visit us on our website at thepodcastthat.com, or email us at thepodcastthatmustnotbenamed@gmail.com. That's all. Thanks.